We're talking about the rest of the green and artifact cards from Phyrexia. All will be one that weren't spoiled individually. Hope you enjoyed the final installment of the Best of the Rest series, and if you do, remember to say hello to, oh my goodness, Steven, what's happened to you? Steven, no! Okay, everyone, you have to click Steven under the video to save him. Maybe enough likes will summon Malira, and she will save our little thumbs up best friend, Steven. We're coming for you. Oh gosh. Adaptive Spore Singer is 2 of anything and 1 green for a 2/2 Phyrexian Druid with Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, choose 1. Target creature gets +2/+2 and gains Vigilance till end of turn or proliferate. The card's fine. 3 mana for a 2/2 with Vigilance is just okay, but bring in a buff and combat keyword or proliferate, that does add enough value to earn a filler spot, especially in decks that care about proliferating. For me personally, I won't be looking to add this card to everything, but enough counter cards in my deck would persuade me to use this as a curve filler. It's not a high priority though. Contagious Vorak is 3 mana for a 3/3 Phyrexian Boar Beast with a crazy long text box for a common. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If you didn't put a card into your hand this way, proliferate. So at the end of the day, this card is designed to dig for a land or designed to proliferate on entry to the battlefield. You'll want to include this in most proliferate decks, as a 3/3 for 3 that proliferates on entry is just fine. It also has some added value in multicolored decks with compromised mana bases. When you need to do all you can to get to the right colors either of those strategies, this is a great 3-drop. Copper Longlegs is 2 mana for a 1/3 Firexian Spider with Reach. You can pay 2 mana and sacrifice it to proliferate. Blocks early flyers and ground 2/1s, which is nice. I imagine the sacrifice ability is to be used when it's going to die anyways, and you want to squeeze that last bit of value out of it. If your deck is on the slower side, this may be good enough as your 21st or 22nd card with a bit of added value if your deck is heavy on proliferate. Ichor-Spit Basilisk is 3 mana for a 1/3 Phyrexian Basilisk with Death Touch and Toxic 1. I love this card, it is so annoying. I don't know if you know this, but Death Touch Unlimited is incredibly annoying. 3 mana is a lot to spend on 1 power, but you don't actually care that much about the power because it has Death Touch and will kill anything anyways, and you mainly want this for the easy poison counters from Toxic. Your opponent is not going to want to trade creatures for this stupid 1/3. They also are not going to want to use removal on it. So really, as soon as this hits the board, unless they have First Strike all over the place, they will be at the very least mildly annoyed by the Basilisk. It's not an early pick, but trust me, it will be very bothersome on the battlefield. Latisse Blade Mantis is 4 mana for a 4/3 Phyrexian Insect that enters the battlefield with 2 oil counters on it. Whenever it attacks, you may remove an oil counter from it. If you do, untap it, and it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. For 2 attacks, you're paying 4 mana for a 5/4 with Vigilance. Even more if you can proliferate those oil counters, this isn't bad. It can swing in for some heavy damage a couple times, almost assuredly taking something down in the process, or hitting your opponent hard. And then it can stay back on defense as a 4-power annoyance. Not much more to say than the card is fine. Middle of the road. You shouldn't have problems getting them in the latter part of your packs, and if you're weak at the 4-drop slot, go crazy. Maze's Mantle is 3 mana for an enchantment aura with Flash, enchant creature. When the mantle enters the battlefield, if enchanted creature has Toxic, that creature gains hexproof until end of turn. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2. I like everything on the card, it's just really expensive. The hexproof granting is pretty narrow and would require a lot of your creatures to have Toxic to make it worthy of inclusion for that specific reason. And while I do value a consistent +2/+2, I would need to be a little light on playables to be confident slotting this in. Oil Gorger Troll is 3 of anything and 2 green for a 3/4 Phyrexian Troll Warrior. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. Then if you control a permanent with an oil counter on it, draw a card. The life isn't meaningless, but it kind of is when discussing the value of the card. 5 mana with double green, and the cost for a 3/4 needs a lot to justify its inclusion, so we're really just talking about drawing a card. I wouldn't pay too much attention to this card unless you're in a heavily green oil counter based deck. You need consistent green mana, you need to have enough oil counter cards to get one on the battlefield before you drop this troll, and if you can't do either of those things, just pass it along. Predatory Steward is 2 mana for a 2/2 Phyrexian Elf Warrior that enters the battlefield with 2 oil counters on it. You can pay 3 mana, tap it, and remove an oil counter from it to give target creature +2/+2 until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. I'm not the biggest fan here. So many hoops to jump through. You have to tie up this 2/2, remove an oil counter, and pay 3 mana to give something +2/+2 for a single turn. You can't even use it as a combat trick. It feels too narrow to me. In the best circumstances ever, this card would shine by giving +2/+2 to a trampling toxic creature, but that's a dream that requires an absurd setup that I'm not really willing to dedicate the space to. There are many good 2-drops in this format, so this is really only going to find a place if you desperately need 2 mana 2/2s to fill your curve. Ruthless Predation is 2 mana for a sorcery. Target creature you control gets +1/+2 until end of turn. It fights target creature you don't control. Solid removal, cheap cost, don't care that it's sorcery speed. Removal in green is always valuable. And the nice thing about this one is that it gives a little bit of bulk to your creature so it can take down something it might not normally be able to. Early pick and limited, it's a solid card. Sky Scythe Engulfer, great name, is 6 mana for a 6/5 Firexian beast with reach and trample. It can't be blocked by creatures with flying. This is a big beast. Big mana cost, big power, big toughness, and 2 relevant combat keywords, and for some reason unblockable from flyers. I don't imagine that part of the card is going to come into play very often, as many flyers would fold like a cheap suit in front of this thing, but with both reach and trample, the Engulfer is a great example of a mid to late game combat bomb. Without a removal spell, your opponent will have a tough time getting rid of this without sacrificing a lot. When you need late game drops in your green limited deck, this is a really nice one at the common rarity. Don't prioritize it early in packs, you should be able to get it relatively late, but it's worth including for that beefy stat line and those keywords. Thirsting Roots is 1 green for a sorcery, choose 1. Search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle or proliferate. Lay of the land, but also maybe proliferate is pretty dang good. In limited, this can help you mana fix the colors you need or just make sure you don't miss a land drop, and it can also proliferate your oil and toxic counters if you need it to. Amazingly flexible for a little green common. I can see this getting play all over the place thanks to its modal nature. Both abilities are relevant. It's a really solid common card. I love it a lot. Titanic Growth is getting a reprint in the set. I get this question a lot, so I'll address it. Titanic Growth is a situational limited inclusion at best. It is almost never an auto-include, and it's more than likely only going to make your deck if you're low on interaction or playables, and it fits in your mana distribution. It's like an inclusion by convenience, if that makes sense. Mirror Custodian is 3 mana for a 2/3 artifact creature mirror. When it enters the battlefield, scry 2, then each opponent may scry 1. Yo, look at that flavor text! Urtek can speak, Mirror can talk? I'm assuming Urtek can because it's a remnant of Memnarch, but still, that is awesome. Playability wise, it's nothing to write home about, but I don't care about that. We have a talking mirror. Maybe Phyrexia is perfection. Mirror Kinsmith is 4 mana for a 3/1 artifact creature mirror. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a mirror card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. It's a mirror tutor. I am loving this set so much right now. I was hoping we would get some interesting mirror, and this works for me. I'll take a mirror tutor all day since we are inevitably building Urtet and need this card. Perfect for Commander. What a gift. Prophetic Prism is getting a reprint, and that's pretty awesome. Nice color fixing rock that replaces itself in your hand. Definitely useful if you're stretching your colors or just want more consistency in your mana production. It's a good limited card. Expect to take it in the first half of your pack. Now that we've rounded out the set, I have to say there's a lot going on here, and I'm pumped to dive into the limited guide and more importantly, various format exploration. If you've enjoyed this Best of the Rest series, be sure to let me know in the comments as well as anything you'd like to see in the future. And as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.